I'm Estrella, 27, and the day of my sister's wedding shattered something I thought was unbreakable. I was standing in the hotel bridal suite with a forced smile. I'd practiced in the mirror when a family guest, my Aunt Lydia, brushed past me and hissed the words that burned like acid. Your presence will ruin Hannah's perfect day. I didn't fight back. I just watched my sister's favorite people sweep around me like I was furniture, saw the groom, Daniel, glance through me like I was glass, and felt the floor tilt. I wasn't even invited, only summoned at the last minute to fix a minor problem, as Mom put it. But the real problem was never the flowers, the dress, or the seating chart. It was the secret humming underneath the satin and smiles. I grew up learning to be small. In our house, Hannah was sunshine, golden hair, golden grades, golden future, and I was the shadow that made her shine brighter. Mom called it difference in temperament. Dad called it sensitivity. Teachers called it potential. If only she tried harder. It took me years to realize I wasn't failing. I was edited out. Maybe that's why. When Mom called to nights before the wedding, I said yes. I always said yes. Just come to the hotel early, sweetheart, she said, her voice sugared and sharp. Hannah's stressed. The florist is late. The veil needs steaming. It would mean so much. What about the invitation? I asked. My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from another woman's throat. A pause clicked on the line. We were sure you'd understand. Hannah wanted something intimate, intimate. With 200 guests, a string quartet, and an ice sculpture of intertwined initials. I could practically feel the chill of it on my cheek. Sure, I said, the same old word. I'll be there. When I arrived, the hotel smelled like lilies and lemon polish. The bridal suite was a burst of white, Hannah corseted into silk, surrounded by bridesmaids in the blush color she'd always loved, their voices high and bright like birds. Daniel's mother, Evelyn, glided in and out with a clipboard, her smile stiff as lacquer. I found the veil, the steamer, the bouquet with wilting freesia, and got to work. I kept my eyes down. Don't panic, Hannah, I murmured, smoothing the crinoline. You look perfect. Of course I do, she said, then glanced at me in the mirror. Just make sure you don't get any of that steam on the lace. And could you stand further back? I stepped back, farther than she meant. The bridesmaids chirped about the photo booth setup, glittery backdrop, speech bubble props, a ring light that could cut a decade off anyone's face. One bridesmaid, Chloe, had already posted a behind-the-scenes story that tagged the venue and hashtag Hannah Hand and ... The night hadn't even started, and the algorithm was feasting. Aunt Lydia slipped in, all perfume and pearls. She touched Hannah's hand. Oh darling, you're luminous, then leaned toward me. Your presence will ruin Hannah's perfect day. There it was. Not the first time. Maybe not even the worst. I swallowed the heat climbing up my throat and focused on the veil. The lace caught the light like frost. I was careful. I always was. Then Daniel appeared at the door, breaking tradition without a tremor of guilt. Quick question, he said, barely glancing at me. He had a charming face. People forgave it before it asked. The sound guy says the slideshow is ready, Daniel continued. But the last two photos, the ones you added, Hannah. Are you sure about those? They're kind of intense. Hannah laughed, tinkling and cruel. Our story is intense, she said. We survived so much. They kissed like a commercial. My hands trembled on the steamer handle. When the door swung shut behind Daniel, Chloe leaned to Hannah. He's obsessed with you, she whispered. It's almost scary, Hannah preened. Almost. I caught my reflection in the mirror. A girl in a plain navy dress, hair pinned out of the way, face carefully neutral. There was a time I would have cried in a bathroom stall. Instead, I set the steamer down. My chest felt tight, but not with tears. With something sharper, I slipped out, down the corridor to the banquet hall, where staff buzzed around tables laden with white napkins curled like seashells. On the far side, a screen waited for the slideshow. The DJ, a guy with kind eyes named Marcus, fiddled with cables. You good? He asked. Just passing through, I said. On the table next to the laptop, I saw a USB drive labeled H&D Final. Someone had tucked it into a crystal bowl with matchbooks. I knew this wasn't my business. But the part of me that had always lived in the margins, watching other people be centered, leaned in. Mind if I check something? I asked Marcus, tapping the laptop. They asked me to review the slides. Hannah's sister. Sure, he said. Better than playing the wrong couple's montage. Happened once. I slid the USB in. The folder bloomed open photos of Hannah and Daniel at beaches and brunches, an embarrassing number of staged candid shots, and a final slide with white cursive, "ID was always you." I clicked back. There was a second folder tucked like a secret, extras. My pulse stuttered. I opened it. It was full of screenshots, text messages, one thread from Daniel to a contact saved as S. The words were casual, joking, flirtatious. Then they turned electric: late night, urgent, risky. Photos sent, then deleted. A logo in the corner of one photo, the Glasshouse Bar, date stamped 3 weeks ago. I recognized the bar near the river, Hannah, and I had celebrated my 21st there. That long ago night, she'd kissed my cheek and told me I'd blossom someday. I'd believed her. I scrolled. A selfie of Daniel smirking beside a woman with copper hair and a diamond cuff. Samantha. I realized Hannah's maid of honor. The file name chilled me. We're careful. Under it, a text from Daniel. Can't wait until tonight. Last fling before the rings. My skin went cold. Images kept cascading: hotel hallway angles, a wine glass balanced on a sink, Daniel's watch gleaming beside a hotel key card. Every pixel felt like a brick in a wall. I hadn't wanted to build, but someone had organized these: dates stamped, labeled, curated. Not an accident. Not a stray cache. A trophy case. I looked behind me, half expecting someone to whisper, "Caught you." Nothing. Just the hum of preparation and the opening chords of a love song from a sound check. "Everything okay?" Marcus asked. I nodded, but my mouth was too dry for words. I copied the extras folder to the laptop's local desktop, a quiet reflex, the way you'd palm a stone from a riverbed. Then I returned the USB to its glass bowl and fled to the hallway. The carpet was a tasteful ocean of blue and cream swirls. I thought of tides, of how they pull even when you don't feel them. I leaned against the wall, breathing. 3 thoughts rose like buoys. 1. Hannah is marrying a man who brags about cheating. 2. Samantha, her maid of honor, is the other person in his texts. 3. Someone intentionally prepared these receipts. But who? A door opened, and Evelyn, Daniel's mother, stepped out, adjusting her pearl earrings. Her gaze clicked onto me, then softened. "Estrella, isn't it?" she said. "Yes," I replied, surprised she knew my name. "I'm glad you're here," she said in a voice so pleasant it cut. "Families are complicated, but today is about unity. I hope you can play your part with grace." "Grace?" I echoed. "I'll do my best." She smiled, but her eyes were steel. "Thank you." When she glided away, I stood in the echo of her perfume and considered the word grace. In church, grace means unearned mercy. In families like ours, it means silence. I went back to the suite. Hannah was practicing her first dance in a circle of bridesmaids, veil pinned and glowing like a halo. Samantha stood nearby, bouquet rehearsal perfect, her copper hair artfully tousled. She caught my eye, blinked, and then looked away. Guilt rippled across her face like a shadow of a cloud. I crossed to the vanity where Mom was supervising mascara. "I need to talk to you," I whispered. "Not now," she said, smiling at a bridesmaid in the mirror. "Whatever it is can wait. Nothing will mar this day." "It can't wait," I said. "It's about Daniel." Mom's eyes flitted to Hannah, then back. Her smile barely thinned. "Jealousy isn't attractive, Estrella." I felt it, then the lock click. There's a moment in every family story where the hinge seizes. In ours, it was always when I spoke. "Okay," I said, stepping back. "Okay." I didn't try Hannah next. I didn't try Samantha. I didn't try Lydia. I thought of Grace in silence and the extras folder humming in a laptop, a loaded chamber. My heart banged against my ribs. I needed a plan. I needed help. I texted Marcus. Emergency tech question. "Can you meet me by the DJ table?" He replied with a thumbs dash up. "T the DJ station." I spoke quickly. "I need you to play a different slideshow. Trust me." He raised an eyebrow. "Is this a prank?" "It's the truth," I said. "And if we don't show it now, the truth will take longer and hurt worse." He studied my face. Maybe he saw the decades in my posture, how I'd learned to make myself smaller and was finally failing at it. He sighed. "Okay," he said. "But if I get fired, I'm blaming you." "Deal," I said. We added a new final segment to the love montage, a soft piano score. Then, when the music swelled, the edit would pivot to the texts, the photos, the time-stamps, names blurred except Daniel's just long enough for understanding to wash over the room. Not pornographic, not cruel, just undeniable. The ceremony began. Guests took their seats under chandeliers that looked like captured constellations. The aisle ran between banks of hydrangeas so lush they looked edible. Dad walked Hannah down the aisle, his proud face, a mask I knew well. Daniel stood at the altar, lit perfectly, handsome as a promise. The vows were customized, of course. Daniel's voice trembled when he said, "I choose you, Hannah. Only you." He lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles. People dabbed at eyes. I watched Samantha, her mouth tightened so slightly you'd miss it if you weren't looking. By the power vested in me, the officiant announced, "I now pronounce you." "Wait," I said. It was a whisper. No one heard. They kissed. Applause exploded. Confetti cannons bloomed. The world pivoted into its new orbit. The reception. Candles flickered in glass cylinders. Forks chimed against plates. The band flowed from jazz standards into pop covers that made even the most reluctant uncles sway. I took a seat in the back where I belonged, apparently, and counted heartbeats until speeches. Dad went first, telling a story about Hannah's first ballet recital. Mom followed, radiant with curated nostalgia. Samantha took the microphone, and I braced. Her voice was warm, practiced. She praised Hannah's generosity, her loyalty. She glanced at Daniel and paused. "And to Daniel," she said lightly, "thank you for loving my best friend exactly as she is." She did not look at me, but she saw me. I could feel it. Then came the slideshow, lights dimmed. The first notes swelled piano, gentle. Photos danced across the screen. Baby Hannah in a yellow sundress. Hannah at prom with a crown slightly crooked. Hannah laughing with Daniel under fairy lights. Polite murmurs. Soft ahs. My heart climbed my throat. I glanced at Marcus. He gave me the faintest nod. The screen flickered. The music shifted, same melody, but the harmony dropped a half step. Subtle. The next slide wasn't a photo. It was text. "Love is honest." Then, the image. A screenshot of a message. Names blurred except Daniel. The timestamp stamped to 14 a.m. 3 weeks ago. Can't wait until tonight. Last fling before the rings. Gasps snapped through the room like dry twigs. Another slide. Daniel's selfie in the glasshouse bar mirror. Watch gleaming. Another text. "No worries, Samantha. We're careful." Samantha made a sound like a punctured tire. Hannah stood, frozen, bouquet clutched white knuckle tight. Evelyn rose halfway out of her chair, eyes pinning me, but I didn't move. The slides kept coming, dates, places, too precise to argue. The last slide, "It wasn't always you." The room fractured, chairs scraping, whispers rising to shouts, the sound of a crystal flute pinging the floor. Daniel surged to his feet and rounded on the DJ table. "What the hell is this?" He snarled at Marcus, then turned toward me. You did this." I stepped forward. My knees shook, but my voice didn't. "I didn't type those messages," I said. "You did." For a second, the entire room hinged on silence. Then Hannah moved. She walked toward Daniel like a statue learning to breathe. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice paper thin. "Tell me, Daniel." His mouth opened and closed. He looked at Samantha, who had folded in on herself, mascara tracking down her cheeks. He looked at Evelyn, who had gone expressionless. He looked back at Hannah and tried for charm. "Baby, this is being blown out of proportion." Hannah slapped him. The sound was crisp, a punctuation mark at the end of a sentence I'd been writing in my bones since childhood. The room inhaled as one. Daniel stepped back, stunned. Hannah dropped the bouquet. "You don't get to call me baby," she said, voice steadying. "Not anymore." Evelyn stepped in, velvet voice wrapped around barbed wire. "We can handle this privately." "Like hell," Hannah said. She turned, eyes searching, and landed on me. Her face twisted with fury, hurt, disbelief. "And you," she said, "you humiliated me." I felt the air thin. "I gave you the truth," I said. "Everyone else handed you a fantasy." Hannah's mouth trembled. "Who told you? Who planted this?" I hesitated. She saw it. "You don't know," she said, almost laughing. "Of course you don't. You think exposing Daniel is justice? It's theater." The room buzzed with whispers, but a thread of clarity cut through me. I'd copied extras from the USB. I hadn't asked who built it, but someone had. "Who?" I asked. Hannah lifted her chin, hurt, sharpening into anger. "Mom, obviously." The room tilted. Mom sat rigid, knuckles bone white on the back of her chair. "Hannah," she said, warning and pleading braided together. "Don't," Hannah snapped. You wanted this, maybe not like this, but you wanted it. You showed me the messages a week ago, said it was just a phase, that we could fix him, that the optics, her voice broke. You told me to smile through it. Aunt Lydia clapped a hand to her mouth. Dad closed his eyes. I looked at Mom, and her face was the calm surface of a lake hiding a tangle of roots. She stood smooth as always. I wanted what was best, she said. This wedding is not only about love. It's about joining families, securing futures. People work through these things. These things? Hannah repeated. Betrayal? With my best friend? She looked to Samantha, who crumpled. Get out, Hannah whispered. Everyone who knew and said nothing. Get out. No one moved. Then Evelyn reached for Daniel's arm. We're leaving, she said. This is a farce. You're staying, Hannah said, newly solid. You don't get to slink away and pretend. You're watching this end. Evelyn froze. For the first time, I saw the twitch at her temple. She wasn't composed. She was cornered. Hannah looked back at me. Why did you do it, Estrella? She asked. And it wasn't accusation anymore. It was a real question, one I owed a real answer. Because I spent my life swallowing things so you could keep your plate clean, I said, the words coming without permission. Because everyone expected me to smile and steam the veil and stay out of pictures. Because pretending kills you slowly, and I didn't want to bury you while you still had a pulse. Her breath hitched, and for an instant, she was 9 again, scraped knee tender. I didn't know it felt like that, she whispered. I know, I said. That's part of the problem. Silence spread, but this time it wasn't empty. It was a field after a fire, cleared, waiting. Hannah turned to Daniel. We're done, she said. No settlement, no second chances. He took a half step forward. Hannah, don't, she said. Security will escort you out. Marcus, bless him, had already sent a message. 2 venue staff appeared like calm ghosts. Daniel tried to bluster, then saw the room had shifted against him. He let himself be guided away. Samantha left with a jacket over her face, like a celebrity avoiding paparazzi. Evelyn walked out last, spine stiff, gaze fixed somewhere above all of us. When the doors snicked closed, a sharper quiet fell. Hannah stared at the fallen bouquet for a long beat. Then she looked up at me again. Stay, she said. Please. That single word please landed like balm. I nodded, because I could. The evening didn't end in a fairy tale. The caterers boxed the dinners. The string quartet pivoted into something low and kind. People spoke in small groups, not whispering so much as decompressing. Aunt Lydia slunk over to me, an apology already forming. I shouldn't have, you shouldn't have, I agreed, and watched her braid her fingers together without offering absolution. Not yet. Dad approached next. He touched my shoulder, tentative. I'm not good at this, he said. At seeing what's right in front of me. Maybe start now, I said, gentler than the line deserved. Mom tried to approach too, but Hannah intercepted her. They disappeared into a side room, voices rising, then falling, then rising again. I didn't go after them. Some doors must close before they can open. I found Marcus packing cables. You were brave, I told him. He shrugged, sheepish. You were. I just pressed play. We shared a tired smile. There was a sweetness in that, a small alliance formed under the weight of something heavier. Later, I stepped outside to the balcony. The night pressed close, cool and a little damp, the river threading silver through the dark. I could finally breathe. A light footfall sounded behind me. Do you think I'm a fool? Hannah asked. I think you're human, I said. And I think he counted on that. She came to the railing, arms crossed against the chill. I wanted it to be real so badly, she said. I kept cutting pieces off myself to fit into this shape, and I called it love. I stared at the water until it blurred. I know that shape, I said. She turned to me, tears on her lashes. You could have told me quietly, she said. You could have taken me aside. I tried, I said. No one would hear me. And if I'd told you outside of this moment, Mom might have smoothed it over, or you might have let him explain it away, and then you would have married him. I chose the only path where you couldn't unknow. She exhaled, long and shivery. I hate that you're right. I hate that it had to be done at all, I said. We stood there, 2 women with the same bone structure and different histories, and for once I didn't feel like a shadow. We were just sisters, complicated and true. Will you come home with me tonight? She asked after a while. Help me take the pins out of this stupid dress? I will, I said. Inside, the staff had turned the chandeliers to a softer setting. The ice sculpture sweat itself into a drunk puddle. The DJ, merciful, put on a song without words and let it drift. Guests approached Hannah, not with pity, but with cautious respect. Something about her spine, the way she'd chosen truth, had changed the temperature of the room. Mom and Hannah emerged from the side room. Mom looked smaller somehow, stripped of her formal armor. She stopped in front of me. "I owe you an apology," she said. "Several, I imagine. You owe yourself one first," I replied. "For teaching your daughters that survival is prettier than honesty." A muscle in her cheek jumped. Then she nodded. A small bow. "Noted," she said. And it wasn't the old dismissive version, it was the beginning of something else. Maybe the right kind of grace. By the time the night wound down, the venue had returned to calm. The last guests trickled out. Hannah and I slipped into a quiet hallway where the air smelled like starch and distance. She handed me a little silver scissors from the emergency kit. I slid it under the first pin in her hair. "Ow," she winced, then laughed. "Sorry, habit." "Of what?" I asked. "Acting like everything's fine," she said. "It isn't, but it will be." We finished plucking out the pins, one by one, like pulling out old beliefs. Her hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders. She looked younger and older at once. She looked like herself. "Come on," she said. "Let's go home." We did. We left behind a half-eaten cake and a deck of shattered expectations. We took with us a box of leftovers and a stack of honesty, heavy enough to hurt and light enough to carry. In the car, we didn't speak much. The city slid by, streetlights drawing stripes across her face. At a red light, she reached over and squeezed my hand. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" I asked. "For not letting me be edited," she said. I smiled then. A real thing, small and stubborn and bright. The days that followed were messy. Headlines in our small circle, whispers in group chats. Samantha moved out of her apartment and into silence. Daniel tried to contact Hannah. She blocked him and changed her number. Mom began therapy, she told us on a Sunday, voice shaking, like a confession and a vow. People kept asking me if I felt guilty. I didn't. I felt awake. And when I felt the old habit of shrinking tug at me, I remembered the sound of Hannah's voice saying please, the weight of the scissors, the text slides, blooming across a ballroom like a reef of truth. A month later, I met Marcus for coffee. He handed me a thumb drive, this one with a sticker of a cartoon otter. "The world's worst party mix," he joked. "If you ever need a job in event crisis management, call me." I laughed. I'll keep that in mind. As I walked home, the city buzzing around me, I caught my reflection in a shop window. I didn't look edited. I looked present. That night, Hannah came over with takeout. We ate on the floor and watched a dumb show. When a character on screen chose the easy lie, we both groaned. "Too soon," Hannah said, chuckling. "Maybe just right," I said. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "You know," she said, "I used to think you were fragile." "I am," I said. "But I'm also strong." "Those things can live together?" she asked. "They have to," I answered, and that's how it ended, not with a triumphant trumpet blast, but with the steady percussion of our lives continuing, truer than before. My family didn't transform overnight, but a seam ripped and light got in. Sometimes that's all the revenge you need, not their ruin, but your reclamation. If this story hit you, if you've ever been edited out or pressured to smile through the unthinkable, tap like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a push toward the truth. Tell me in the comments, what's one moment you chose honesty over comfort and how did it change you?